Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Jack. This is where we do our little dance on the
Well,
table.
typically, I've done mine already.
This is where we do our dance.
I think so. This is where we started, and I'll keep my shirt on this time, of course, but this is typically where it takes place.
It is?
Yes, it is. Welcome to the Olympian Table. We're glad to have you guys this morning
And
for
we have
joining us.
loads to talk about today.
Oh, absolutely, where we talk about just about anything. We layer in real estate and investments and all of that.
I want to know
stuff.
what you really think about the housing market.
But
That's what I want to get.
You'll be surprised what I think about it. But anywho, like, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you can be notified when this show starts. It's always Wednesdays. We kind of get started around 10:15, 10:20, whenever we kind of get everybody here. But yeah, we're glad that you're here watching.
Okay,
If you have questions,
rub it in. I was like,
if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box so we can answer them directly for you. Well, shoot, we'll start off this morning just kind of talking about your little fender bender here. I was trying to pull up information on this person.
and if anybody out there can help us, we would appreciate it.
So Steven was in an accident. Sometimes he's on the, but we don't know if that was the case this time. But somebody hit him, and come to find out, this person was uninsured, unlicensed, paper tags, all that good jazz. I was trying to pull up a background check on this information, and there's nothing coming up under this. I mean, the name comes up, but I think you might have gotten hosed there, sir. Did it? How bad did it mess up the car?
The
Bring your mic in.
driver's front quarter panel completely screwed.
Gone.
I cannot.
So you can't turn the wheel.
I can't turn the wheel. I can't open the door. Let's just explain to everybody what happened. Now I can laugh about it. Last night I was crying about it. But I'm pulled up at a T-junction. It's a double yellow line.
I can't look.
And it's a double yellow line.
Okay.
And I'm out to turn left. And then as I turn left, this woman, a little Nissan Versa, is coming. I'm looking at the traffic coming my way. She's coming behind me. And she's got her foot down.
He's pressing the metal pedal to the metal, as they say.
Big time.
Yeah.
And then she's on paper plates. And then I said, "Oh, just driving to the side." And she was sort of cussing a little bit and a little bit irate and everything else. But she kept wanting to, I called the police. I called my insurance agent. And then my insurance agent said, "No, just report it to the police and get a police report number. And also, she's only obliged to give you her insurance and her driving license number and her name, so you know who she is."
Right.
Well, anyway, every 5 minutes or so, she kept wanting to leave.
Before the cops got there.
Before the cops got there,
Okay.
and I didn't feel comfortable about it. I just got a bad feeling about this situation. And finally, the police got here. One policeman takes me, another policeman takes the other one, the other lady. And, I told them, "Look, she's come across a double yellow line. I've got photos of the damage and everything else." And then the police have their little talk about everything. And then I said to the policeman, "So what happens now? Is there any guilt?" He says, "Well, we can't tell you there's any guilt. We just report." And I said, "You'd make a great real estate agent, because that's all we can do. We can't make an opinion, but all we can do is
Nothing.
is basically tell you."
Right.
Well, I wouldn't say nothing, but all we can do is, we can give you advice, then it's up to you to make a decision. But I said, in this situation, it's completely different. You can, And he said, "All I can say is that you wasn't in the wrong. From our opinion, you wasn't in the wrong. You stopped. There was a double yellow line. You know, the double yellow line stops, and then you can turn left, which is what I did. I've got photos of all of that. And he said, but, you know, bar everything. And I said, well, what happened? Because when I seen this little yellow bit of paper which says she hasn't got a driving license and she's on paper plates, and it says on here driver's license, driver's insurance information, company name Zulch.
Nothing.
But I've got a number of questions about this. If they're on paper plates, doesn't the company who issued the paper plate have any liability at all?
Well, you're supposed, if they're on, you and I both know the paper plates, that's a racket in itself. That people are stealing and selling those things. So just because they're on paper plates, they're supposed to have at least liability.
Why do they do them in black and white, which is easily
duplicated?
Right.
Right.
Why not maybe in multicolored,
something,
paper plates?
Right.
Make it harder.
Harder to duplicate.
Put a hologram on it or something.
Something. I totally agree with you. And at this point, I thought if you were driving without a license and insurance, it's like, hey, man, you can't drive a vehicle. I can't let you go. Sorry. Somebody got to come pick you up and tow in your car, whatever the case is. But you say she drove away, right?
She just drove away.
They let her drive away.
Which, to me, you've got no insurance, and you're driving with no insurance
and no license. Now, I think you can pull up the car information to see. They have some kind of database to see if there's insurance on the vehicle. I do know that's a possibility. They can do that. But as far as the driver's license, you don't have a license to drive. I mean, why let her go? I don't know. Hey, man.
And the insurance is so complicated over here because, you can get full coverage.
Right.
All right. Or you can get liability. But when you pull up your insurance, you've got liability. But it's actually full coverage.
Well, it's liability, and then you got your collision. So if you were to get into a collision. Right. So the liability is what the bare minimum is. So you have to have that at least in the state of Texas. But, in this case, she didn't have that. Now, was her car messed up at all? It was. But she was able to drive hers off.
It was effed up. I mean, all the way down the side of her car was completely...
But it was drivable. Or do you think she probably...
It was drivable, but I wouldn't say it was drivable.
she drove it.
What I mean. She drove it, but I mean, I wouldn't say it was
but
really...
You couldn't drive yours.
I wouldn't like to drive it.
Right. You couldn't drive yours at all.
I could do, but it made some funny sounds.
Oh, yeah. Well, that could have been making it worse.
I mean...
No need of changing... making the problem worse for us. Because now, do you have uninsured motorist coverage for your insurance?
I don't know.
Oh, man. Hopefully you do, sir. Hopefully you have uninsured motorists, because that is something we deal with in our area, man. The people driving without insurance. Hey, testimony building days, I've been there. Back in the day, I was broke. I didn't have enough to keep that. If you got a bill that you got to let go, it was going to be that insurance bill.
What I can't understand is if somebody's doing that, if somebody's driving without insurance, the minimum that needs to happen is they need to take that car, they need to tow it to the tow truck.
I agree.
They need to put her in jail and bail herself out so she goes to court, whatever.
Well, I don't agree about the jail part. Because what's the charge?
So what's the penalty?
Well, the penalty is I'm towing your car. That's going to cost you easy $200-300 getting your car towed. But putting her in jail, I think that's a bit extreme. Not multiple charges.
Let me go in front of a judge.
Well, I think they should definitely have to do that anyways. But my thing, she didn't get a citation at all?
I don't know. They don't tell you that.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully she got at least a citation. You should be able to get a copy of the police report once you file your claim. I'm assuming you already filed your claim.
I've been told to do it online this morning.
Oh, okay. Who you have your insurance with?
Allstate.
Oh, their process is very seamless. I must give them kudos. It's very easy to file a claim with Allstate.
My daughter was in a car accident. October, September last year. And it wasn't easy at first. Somebody literally drove over and, she came out of it. My daughter's one of these people.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if she's in a car accident, I highly.
That it was her
fault. The thing that I
fault.
kicked myself for was about 2 weeks ago. I've got a cam. I've had a cam in my car for years and years.
Took it out.
And I took it out. And 2 weeks ago, I really thought to myself, I need to put that back. Did Steve put it back?
Why'd you take it out?
I don't know if it fell out. I don't know if I got the car cleaned. I'll be honest with you, I really don't know.
Remember. Oh,
and,
well.
in my life with all the epilepsy going on, it's been chaotic.
I understand, man. I understand. Well, that's the adventure, at least to start for you. Speaking of adventure, before we move on, did y'all make it out okay with this thunderstorm?
What thunderstorm?
Oh, well, you're like my wife. She was like, what storm?
What thunderstorm? Everybody says we was going to have 4 to 6 inches. I'm like 4 to 6 inches of what?
Well, it did rain. I don't know if you were asleep like my wife was, because she doesn't remember anything. But I happened to be awake when it was coming through our side of town, which we live out in the country. So there's a lot of grass for the water to get soaked up. So it didn't stand on the streets, where we are. But it also wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Of course, the media makes it. They hype up everything. They were closing school and delaying school and all this good jazz. But we made it out fine as well. I think people were without power for a little bit, but I think everybody else kind of made it out good. How about you, Everett? Were you good with it?
Yeah, I was actually pretty okay with the storm. I mean, besides blowing some leaves, in my pool, it's like not really that much of a big deal.
Okay, yeah, I feel the same. We always kind of get these notifications because we're right here on the coast, so you never can be too careful with that. But nevertheless, we made it out fine. So cool. We got a list. It's not super long, but I think the topics are very discussion worthy. So I'm excited. We're gonna start off a little bit of real estate this morning. And then we'll kind of move from there. I think this was yours, Steve, about the Homeowners Association foreclosing on 60 homes in Denver.
Yeah.
Do tell, sir.
Well,
that is a real thing.
You can foreclose a HOA, because we do HOA management.
Correct.
We do HOA management, and you can foreclose on properties that aren't up to date with their HOA. There is a process that you go through, and they basically have to be more than 90 days late, and you have to do something called a 209 letter. But a homeowners association is there for the general good of the homeowners. And I think to myself, 60? Really? It's got to that bad that it can't be resolved with a bit of humility?
Well, here's the thing, and I remember when the credit crisis took place in 2008, and when all of that was taking place, folks were like, oh my goodness, we didn't know we were getting an arm. Oh my goodness, we didn't know about the interest rate. Oh my goodness, I didn't know. So many mortgage companies and loan officers took, basically they got a bad rep for what took place during that time, when many of those folks well knew that they were signing an adjustable rate note because it says it on the note that it's an adjustable rate note. In this case, from what I read in the article, people are paying their mortgages, and then the HOA was issuing fines, like what HOAs do, for grass and leaving trash and all that stuff, $50, $100, whatever, so forth. And then this particular lady that they interviewed said that the fines had gotten all the way up to like $8,000. And at the time of this, it was like right at about 10 grand for it. They didn't know that the house was even foreclosed on until the new owner showed up to the door. So, so they were ignoring the notices that they were getting.
Well, the Texas process,
Okay.
is basically you send out a letter by regular mail, 30 days notice. Then you send out another one, which has to be 30 days notice, registered mail. Then after that, you send out a formal letter, which is called a 209.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest objection that I'm going to say now in Texas, I don't know whether it is in other states, but one of my biggest objections in Texas to homeowners associations, and I'm not saying this because I'm a real estate agent, there's license, okay, is you don't have to be a licensed realtor or a broker to run a homeowners association in the state of Texas.
You don't.
You don't. And to me, that is criminal, and I'll tell you why it's criminal. How on earth can you really understand how to run an escrow account? How can you really understand the Texas Property Code? Now, somebody who isn't licensed would turn around and say, well, you don't need the Texas Property Code to run a homeowners association,
Right.
Which you don't. But I can guarantee you it helps.
Now, are you talking about as president of the association,
I'm
or no one on the board at all?
No. I'm talking about a homeowners association. if I have a company,
Mm-hmm.
and I decide that I'm going to run a homeowners association.
As the company.
All right. Well, it's not a company. It's an organization. It's an organization.
No,
right?
you as the company is going to run the HOA.
Okay, Olympian
Uh-huh.
decide that we're going to run a homeowners association. We are going to run one of the properties that we run, townhomes on the park. Okay. We take that property on. There's 225 units. It grosses over $1 million a year.
Okay.
We do not have to be a licensed real estate agent. We don't have to know anything about Texas property code.
How are you vetted then?
I don't have to be.
So they can just let anyone that decides they want to do it
And the reason why that's done in the state of Texas is because you can self-manage your HOA.
And you don't have to be a realtor for that.
And this is one of the problems why you do see a lot of problems with homeowners associations, where homeowners of the association, and they face a fair few pennies from, and I think it's more critical from a homeowners association, because a homeowners association cannot go to an organization like yourself to borrow money if they want to borrow money for gas boilers,
right,
new roof. They can't do it.
Right.
There's no equity. And yet you've got somebody that's just a homeowner. And it's quite funny listening to some homeowners. And this is why I think there's a lot of problems with homeowners in Houston, because we're blessed with our board members. A lot of our board members and owners, in all fairness, are very, very good. We've pitched for some additional homeowners association, and just the way they talk, they think they are president of the United States. And it's like their attitude is put him in jail.
Right.
They've left their trash outside. And then you get yourself into a situation where they don't understand leasing. I'll give you an example. On a lease, it says how many days a visitor can stay in a particular unit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on a regular residential lease, for most real estate agents, the accepted time, because everything's negotiable, 14 days. And yet we've had instances where some real estate agents and homeowners associations put 30 days for visitors. And yet on their deeds and restrictions, it's got 14.
Gotcha.
So you've got somebody that's running a homeowners association that doesn't understand the basics about a lease. Some homeowners association use their own lease. All right. And we'll leave that for another conversation. And it just doesn't match. It's not a very good jigsaw.
I agree. I think many times folks put their own feelings into it as well, rather than going by the law of the letter.
Here's my biggest
Letter of the law,
here's my biggest critic. Okay, if somebody's got a license, perhaps they're a little bit more persuaded to do things the correct way because they have something to lose.
Sure.
If somebody doesn't have a license, a bit like this lady with a driving license, all right, what have they got to lose?
Yeah, nothing. It's just oops, I was wrong. Sorry. That's it.
And that's one of the things that my biggest... We did a pitch at a homeowners association, new business, over 200 units. It was a self-managed property. They needed a new roof. They needed some serious help, but we couldn't help them. They wanted us, the homeowners, they wanted us, the management company, to loan them the money for the new roof.
Nah.
Straight away, that is a conflict of interest.
Totally. Well, so devil's advocate, right? So on this situation where these people have not paid their fines, what is an HOA to do other than foreclose if you're issuing the citation? Just say you're doing everything to the letter that you're supposed to. The 30-day notices, the 209s. What do? You got an $8,000 or $9,000 balance.
As long as it's followed state law.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing is, and it's always the hardest part, is they have a court date. I know it sounds stupid. That's really is. I mean, if you didn't show up for the court date, then you feel serious problem.
If they've ignored it, for sure. Because this lady said they knocked on her door. The new owner knocked on her door. The mortgage balance was $30,000. The HOA bill was $11,000.
To me, that's unreal. To me, as a human being and somebody that runs HOAs, I think that's unreasonable.
The amount, the $11,000.
We have some properties out there. Let me give you another scenario. How immoral and how much humility do you think it is? You've got a HOA, and we have a few people that may be in this dilemma that might owe $25,000. All right, actually not that much. Let's say $10,000.
Okay.
Right, but they can't pay that bill for whatever the reason, because of COVID or cancer, medical issues. And what we're doing, we're bringing investors that we know to come in. So the HOA get the full amount of money, let's say $10,000. Then the owners go away with maybe $40,000, $50,000. Now they're buying it from the market value, all right? But in the condition it's in, it's not going to go for top market value.
Sure.
But at least, and the benefit with that is that if it goes to foreclosure and somebody buys the property in foreclosure, in a HOA foreclosure, the amount owing could be $10,000. But at an auction steps, you may buy that for $2.5.
Right.
Which makes it even worse in this situation. Because if their HOA fees are how much? Did you say?
$11,000.
$11,000. The HOA fees are what?
No. The HOA is $11,000. The mortgage is $30,000. The HOA is $11,000.
So, is that immoral? Because we've looked at that as well. We've even.
So in that case, if it auctions for $2,500 or so, they're going to accept that in lieu of the $11,000.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of jacked up.
And then the HOA only get $2,500.
Right.
And that's where I say, from a humanity point of view, you really are better off trying to work with people.
Right.
I mean, trying to tell that to people in Ukraine at the moment. That you really are better off trying to work with one another, to work through it, to try and, work something out.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I definitely don't disagree with that. It's unfortunate, but these folks out there are dealing with this. So just know, folks, the HOA can foreclose on your property. You need to make sure that you read in your deeds and restrictions and such to understand the process, but they can foreclose for non-payment. So don't ignore your HOA warnings for sure.
I find it difficult to believe, right, that you've got 60 homes, not one of them knew about.
I agree. I totally agree.
That's the part that I find. You're telling me that they
60.
foreclosed on all them, and
no one knew.
Especially as neighbors talk to one another.
Of course. Excuse me. I totally agree with you. That's a lot of people.
That's what I find difficult to
believe. Yes, sir. Oh well. Well, moving on. Still in this real estate vein. Oh, speaking of real estate, this is not on the list, but Wells Fargo's back in the news for discrimination. They're always dealing with some type of something against customers, whether it be fraud or discrimination, that they were discriminating against black folks and denying, proper financing or giving them subpar financing when they qualified for better financing. So you and I both know that discrimination thing doesn't work too well with the feds. So they are they're definitely looking at filing a lawsuit, or it has been filed on that, to try to keep that in line. So if you haven't heard, it is one issue that they're going to be dealing with. They'll end up paying it. I think they had the same type of deal back in like 2012. It cost them like $175 million, which in the grand scheme is not a whole lot of money for them, but it's a pretty hefty fine. So, but anywho, I think this was yours too, man. Homebuyers are facing a triple threat.
Well, I just want to know what you think about interest rates are going up. You've got a lot of people that are, how could I put this? Don't seem to have much guts in the game. Panicking.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that makes me make that statement is because in 2008, when we had all these foreclosures, throughout the whole country, a lot of property values would go down 25%, 30%. Houston went down 10%. Compared to other parts of the country, Houston, we didn't go down much at all.
Right.
We didn't. I mean, I was one of the guys that used to sell all these houses, you know, and made a very, very good living at the time through Wells Fargo, through Fannie Mae, but there really wasn't much drop in the value of the house. The ones that really went low were the ones that was in bad condition that needed some serious work.
Some work on it.
But some of the houses wasn't bad. I mean, some of the houses we took, people would burst the water pipes in the ceiling, and then when they turned the water on, the water would go down, and all of a sudden we'd have a greenhouse. But I don't want to know what your feeling was as a loan officer, because I think it's pretty certain now that in May, the interest rates are going to go up 0.5%. Okay.
They've already kind of said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're warming everybody
Um.
But I just wanted to know what your sort of feeling, was on it. And then, I've told you, and you do as well, we both dabble in the stock market a little bit.
Right.
I haven't dabbled in it recently because of my health issues and just different things that are going on from a business point of view.
I mentioned no good stocks at the moment.
Well,
kind of all over the place, depending on.
You say that
it's a hit or miss, depending on what you get.
But Bitcoin's actually gone up. It's been stable.
Yeah.
Ethereum's gone up.
Yes, sir.
A lot of the cryptos have gone up. I know people say, well, now's not a good time. But you listen to Warren Buffett, and Warren Buffett says now's the best time because you buy at the bottom. And some of, I'm one of the inexperienced people that, has Robinhood. But the truth of the matter is, some of my Robinhood's gone up.
Right.
The stocks that I didn't, I bought them. I bought some real estate investment trusts. I bought some Walmarts. And on the whole, I haven't bought them to buy them and get out of them quickly. But I'll give you an example. Today, on one day, and I'm not a big buyer by all means, but today my portfolio's up $750. It's peanuts compared to some of the people.
Oh yeah, of course. You're making me look earlier than I usually do. What time is it? 10:51. I'm just gonna look myself. So my thoughts is we interest rates are definitely up.
Where do you think they'll level out? This time next year, where do you think we'll be on the interest rate?
You mean what the rates will be? I have no clue. Well, we're at average right now about 4.5. So they can't make them go too high, but I wouldn't be surprised seeing 5.5, 5 3/4, somewhere in there. I wouldn't be surprised. But that is still historically low. The problem that we're dealing with now.
My first house I bought at 18%.
There you go.
I told you that.
We've been in the COVID kind of a market, which is why rates were down where they were
I want to make a statement
already.
Only because I'm in contract now. All right. So the person that we just bought this house from can't change his mind because we're in contract. We've managed this house for over 10 years. It's a beautiful property, not far from here. High-end property in the Galleria. 1 bedroom.
One bedroom.
It's a 1 bedroom.
Okay.
He's just spent $8,000 flipping it up. He had it listed at 80 something.
Okay.
He's panicking about the situation that we're getting into. We just bought it for 162 cash. Now, he's an experienced investor. To get that sort of discount, in my opinion, you understand where I'm coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's cash.
Right.
It makes no difference whether it's cash or whether it's a loan.
Right.
Apart from the fact that if he's got a loan and it busts out, then he's got to pay extra taxes and he's got to pay extra HOA fees. Definitely doesn't. I mean, we'll close by the end of the month. That's what we have the funds to, to do that. But he wants to sell a house. I mean, we'll buy a house from him, close some cash. I mean, we hold on to it, and he's an experienced investor. Panicking.
He just may not want to deal with it.
Well, we've managed it for him for over 10 years. And he bought it in the crash of 2008.
Okay.
And he came to us and said that he wanted to sell it. And he had a number of offers on the property, but he wanted to take the cash off.
There's a lot of people walking around with cash now. And the government's printing it like, toilet paper, so it's out there. It's definitely out there. But rates are where they are, man. I say people still need to buy. What I think will happen though. So you got these builders that are because there's not enough inventory. So builders are writing contracts, writing them like wildfire in some cases. People will see that interest rates are higher, and they may back out and decide, oh, we're not going to do it. And a lot of those builders will be on the hook for those construction loans and for those spec homes that they've built. So you'll start to see a little bit of an increase in the inventory there. I don't wish any demise on anyone, but that might be something to kind of help to level out the market.
There's a YouTuber that I watch, and he's a property developer, and he talks about crypto and investing in general. And that's the first thing that he said he thinks will happen. New builders will be the first one to feel the pain.
Yeah.
Because what will happen is that increase in the interest rate will make a big difference to people that are buying new houses.
Right.
And they won't be able to afford the new home payment. They just won't be able to afford the home payment. They'll pull out. Then the builders will have extra inventory.
Right. Well, I guess we'll see. I don't know. We'll see what happens with it. We shall see. All right, what we got next? Oh, this is the one that I actually threw in here. This is a highlight for many folks. We were talking about the hospital before. You got to go back in there and deal with that.
I just woke up in ICU. I'm like, where am I?
Okay, so the surgery I had, I just looked at that bill, like yesterday. Just looked at that bill for the first time.
You can have my bill for free if you want.
No, sir. No, thank you.
I would have a different type of bill.
Mine was enough. I did not realize it was just under $200,000.
What bill was?
My medical bill for my surgery I had.
What did they?
No.
Snip.
No, they didn't. None of that. $200,000.
What did they do to you?
I got when I had heart surgery.
Jesus Christ.
That was I want to say it felt like 2 minutes for me, but I think I was in there for maybe 3 hours, 4 hours maybe. No, they did something wrong. But yeah, man. I was just looking at the detailing of what they charge. It's ridiculous.
I told you that the other week. I go in there. I had a seizure about 2 years ago. I came out with a bill for $167,000.
That's ridiculous.
I had 69 tests. I've had epilepsy since I've been 8 years old. I've never had that many tests since I've been in. Last time I went in, I woke up in ICU.
Yeah, that was a hefty bill.
And then the other part that I think is funny, all right, just to make it a bit light for everybody is, have you ever seen them old planes they used to fly with them old flying hats? You know, the old flying hats, like the leather flying hats that they used to put the things on.
Yeah.
Well, I woke up with one of them on, and it had all little electric things on because they was monitoring my brain.
Oh man, that's funny.
And then I might be doing brain surgery, believe it or not.
Hey man, we don't need you to go in there and mess with the little bit you got left, man. Come on now, leave that alone. But anyways, we talk about medical bills.
To play with. No, it's all gone.
Oh well. Is what it is. But anyways, the medical bills, we talk about it. It's ridiculous
nuts.
In this
It's
country.
nuts.
We've talked about it before.
That's why we need socialist medicine.
I don't know about all that. We just need the medicine to cost less.
Because the most ridiculous part is over here. As you get older, is when you need it.
Of course. Of course.
But when you're young, it's like, I don't need it.
You don't need it. Right.
I'll take.
Yep. But medical bills that typically end up costing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, they would go on to your credit report. And, like anything else, if they're not paid, they show up on the credit report and it's a bad debt. So it can affect your credit score. So the 3 credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, have agreed that they're going to be making changes on how they handle the medical debt. One of which they're going to, if it's paid, they're going to drop it from the report so it won't show up at all. The time period before an unpaid debt goes to collection will go from increased from 6 months to a year. And then, of course, the credit bureau, they'll drop any collection under $500. So I know many times I've had a bill come through and it might be an extra $100 or $60 or whatever the case is. But if it goes to collections, then that goes to the credit report. So those medical collections, throwing people's credit score off. I had one lady, we were working with her, she was a 670. And she took some time, was waiting in the market, decided she was going to hold off. She came back to me, repulled her credit. Nothing else changed except for a medical collection for like $80. Dropped her credit score like 120 points. So they're supposed to be dropping this. This is a good move, I think, that medical collections will be dropped from credit reporting. I don't know how that'll work out for the hospitals as far as collection goes, but at least for the credit reporting purpose of that, then I think it'll be good.
My biggest gripe with the medical payment system, I told you about when I had encephalitis back in 2002, is when they turned around and my medical bill was $240,000. Sold my one company at the time, paid that off. And at the time, they said, "Oh, well, don't worry, we'll let you pay it off." I paid my last payment. We would have give you a reduction on the bill if you'd have.
Right. Well, how are you even supposed to know?
Nobody told me.
No, exactly. Nobody told you to ask for the discount. Oh, well. Moving on. Hidden costs. That was yours. Hidden costs to home buyers.
Well, I'm not just pushing this because I'm a real estate agent.
Now the new homes.
But this is the reason why you need a good real estate agent. I've always said it and always will. Even before I was a real estate agent, I was an investor. I always had my agents that I would work with, because a good agent would save me money on every deal.
Right.
And what's happening now with a lot of these builders, because I do think the tide's turning for the builders.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that the builders they've had a bit of a free rein. People wanting to buy houses and pushing the prices up. I do think that's changing. I really think that now, apparently, the builders are starting to put extra fees on the buyers.
Right.
And that's why I think it's so important to use a good agent, try and protect them a little bit.
So what do you do as an agent, though, for if you're saying trying to protect them? How can you circumvent that process, or is there anything you can do against the builder? Because they seem to be protected.
Absolutely. I mean, the main job of a real estate agent isn't to tell the client what to do. It's to give them advice of a situation or their options of what to do.
Right. One of which could be walking away, right?
Precisely.
I say that all the time.
And my first mentor used to tell me all the time, if it smells like cheese, it's cheese. And what are you better off doing? Are you better off having a client for life, or are you better off having a client for one deal? And sometimes that's what you've really got to tell some buyers to do. But some buyers think that if you're trying to get them to walk away, that there's some mysterious reason
Right.
why you're trying to get them to walk away. But it really isn't the case. But I really do think that buyers need to be more aware of some of the hidden costs that there may be, when you do buy a new house. Do you think, at the moment, a lot of people want to buy a new house outside the city? Do you think that's going to change? Traditionally, that's what happens, isn't it? It's like all of a sudden they want to buy in the city, then they want to buy outside the city.
Well, with gas prices now.
Gas prices, the way it's going.
Yeah,
gas prices is a big part of that.
Exactly. But they're up now, so you'll probably find people looking to try to get a little bit closer into the city and not out in the suburbs, because it's costs so much.
Because I was looking to, with the cash we've got, to try and buy some houses that we can put into rental properties. Near our office, 77057, 77056.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an incredible amount of rentals. And the rental prices are going through the roof.
They are. But you know why? Because they can. Supply and demand have a huge effect on this. There's no supply. Where are they going to go?
We've got one rental client. We haven't put his rent up 3 years, 4 years. Comes in about 2-3 weeks ago. Turned around, said, I need to sign a new lease. We said, that's fine. Will we put a rental increase up on him?
Mm-hmm.
All right. He created such fuss. And then...
How much are y'all going up?
5%.
Okay.
And then... No, we haven't gone up in 4 years. So then we gave him a CMA of the local rents. He came in 2 days after and says, okay, where do I sign?
Because he went down the street to try to see how much it cost
to
move.
We even gave him his rent's like $1,600, and some of the other rents up there, they're like $1,900, $2,100, some of them. We're not trying to rip you off. We're just trying to cover our costs
right.
as well.
My sister-in-law just moved into a place, and I want to say she's paying $1,200 or $1,300 for just a little small 1-bedroom, just nothing. I haven't been over there to check it out, but she was describing it to me. I mean, it's nice area, but for what you have to pay in comparison to what it used to be, it's a lot. It's a lot when you used to be able to get a house for that much,
Right.
So I know people are kind of squirrely, and trying to be a little bit cautious about buying or waiting, shall I say. But there are costs for buying a home, even if it's a new home. Don't think that these people behind those desks with those smiling pearly whites, they're your friend. They're not. They work for the builder.
That's what a lot of people. That really is. What...
And get an inspection too. Just because it's new doesn't mean it doesn't need to be inspected. A home was built by human beings, and people make mistakes and they make errors. I can't tell you how many times I've seen vents put on backwards, pipe drips or something put on the wrong way and it's dripping inside the wall. I've heard all kinds of stories.
We had one of our agents came to us, inspector that we use, inspected and said, whatever you do, don't buy this house. We said, well, why is that? He said, because the drainage, slope of the drainage is going all the way to the house. So the first
big rain
they have that they would have had would have been quite a problem. Yeah.
My father-in-law kind of has that problem in his backyard with drainage. He's been dealing with that. So I can imagine people having to deal with that for sure. Cool. We're moving on along. Oh, I thought you'd like this one. So, you know who Rachel Levine is, huh?
No.
Rachel Levine is one of USA Today's Women of the Year. There she is.
That's Rachel Levine.
Yep. Rachel Levine. Rachel Levine is also a U.S. Navy admiral, and the U.S. Assistant Secretary for Health in the Department of Health and Human Services. So, yeah, one of the Women of the Year, though. What you think about that? This is the month for women. Totally. Any thoughts?
Got a nice jacket on.
Nice jacket. I would agree. Nice jacket. Oh yeah, for sure. What would you say if I told you that Rachel Levine was born a male? Would you believe that, sir? Wouldn't believe it. Well, believe it. Rachel Levine is a biological male that has transitioned and being honored as one of the Women of the Year. Now, I think Rachel is now 64 or so. And in 2011, so we'll call that 11 years ago, at the age of 53, is when the transition took place. Rachel has 2 children, and
when she had the children, she obviously wasn't.
Absolutely, because
and that's the point
she had
getting to.
She had the women, she had the children with her
So why should
wife.
she be honored as a woman?
My point exactly, sir. Let's talk about it. Because the next subject is along the same lines,
I know it is.
right?
I've seen that, and I knew where you was going with that.
Yeah. Do you think that women are being treated fairly during this time? And I think they said March is Women's International Women's Month or something, where these biological males are being thrust into the spotlight as quote unquote women. How fair do we think that is to actual women? Or is it fair? Am I outside of bounds? Am I the only one that thinks there's a problem with this?
I've just got one comment to say.
Okay.
It is. It's just a comment. Should it really have to be this complicated?
It should. And here's what I say.
And I agree with you. I really do. I don't think it should have to be this complicated at all.
I'll say this. So many times, I am conservative. I don't affiliate myself with any specific party per se, but many times on the other side you hear, trust the science. Except when you're talking about this. So why can't we trust the science? And even if you do, you transition, that's your business. That's what you want to do. Kudos to you. I don't think Rachel is any less than for doing that or making that decision as transitioning. Kudos to them, or anyone else that wants to do that. But to label someone that was born a male, has lived all of their childhood, all of their adulthood as a male, to then label them Woman of the Year, I just think it's a stretch, man. I just really do. And I may be alone in this, but
My vote's for Simone Biles.
as Woman of the Year, yeah, hey, I'm with that. I can definitely do that. I mean, she's a hometown kid. We can go with that. But yeah, man, that's
What she's achieved all day long.
absolutely. I totally agree with you. A much better candidate. Now it's just one of, not to say that it's the only one. They did the same thing with what's her name, Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner was Time Magazine's Woman of the Year. Yeah,
Who made that decision?
I
just
wish I
asking.
knew.
I was just
I'm that because I asked the same question. Who votes on these things? I don't know, man. It's just it's tough. It's tough. They say they're women that make significant impact. So I guess she's one of them this year. But anywho, while we're in that same vein, man, we can throw this in here because I'm pretty sure everybody's heard about this situation. So the NCAA championships, or NCAA as they're calling it now, swim championships have taken place this past week or so, and there's been a little bit of a discussion and talk about the participation of one swimmer in particular at the University of Pennsylvania, Leah Thomas. Leah Thomas is a biological male who is transitioned and is now competing in women's swimming. Now, a little bit of facts about this. Leah stands at 6'4". Already an advantage over the other regular sized women, I would say. And Leah won the national championships. First place. Got the gold medal. And of course, the young lady that came in second, I think her name was, what was that lady's name? I can't even remember because all we've been talking about is Leah Thomas. But the fact of the matter is that she was not able to get that first place trophy, which she would have gotten if she was not bumped out by Leah Thomas winning the race. So again, now as I understand, as a male on the men's team, Leah was like barely in the top 400.
Who makes the decision if they can even participate?
The NCAA made a ruling that she could participate. They made a ruling.
I mean,
The leadership in the organization made the ruling. And I think
a group of
like men or women, I don't know. I don't even know who's on the board that even makes this decision. I'm going to put a picture here in the Discord. We can actually show. Let me go. Okay, here we go, Everett. Boom. You can pull that up so that'll show on the screen. Because I know you've heard of it. That's Leah.
he doesn't look, well, it doesn't look like a Leah.
It doesn't look like a Leah. Looks like Leon. I don't know. I don't know. It's the fact that Leah stands 6'4" to me just seems. It's almost as if I was just decided I was going to go and play against the kindergarten basketball team because I identify as a kindergartner. Like, yep, that's all right. I'm just going to get out there and play with these guys, and oh well, come what may. Doesn't seem fair. Doesn't seem fair to the people that have worked their whole life. I mean, these girls start swimming. You think about it. An Olympic skater, you got to start skating. I mean, if you want to get to the Olympics, you probably got to start skating when you're younger, right? To get your body together, just like gymnasts. They got to get their body together. Swimmers, I would imagine the same thing. By the time these girls are 4 or 5 years old, they are in that pool, swimming, starting every day as a child and working up to the point to where they can go to the championships and get to the Olympics.
And there's something that I just want to comment on. Swimming is a lot more competitive than skating.
Right.
No, I mean, swimming is just incredibly competitive sport.
It really is. And the thing with it, Steve, is just like a year or so ago is when Leah decided to transition to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to I'm going to
like
flip.
a little meeting and say, okay, why do you want to transition, Leah?
I don't know. I have no idea. But it seems to have been. She started doing the transition in 2019, I think, and kind of completed and came out as a junior year. And of course, they had her take some hormones or whatever the case is, for a certain amount of time. But I don't know. It's it doesn't seem fair to the women. Now, on the flip side of it, there is a young lady by the name of Caster Semenya, Semenya. Caster, let me see if I can find it. From South Africa. Many folks may not remember about Caster Semenya. I'm going to drop her picture in here. Just for comparison. Just for comparison. There you go there, Everett. You can throw that up there on the screen. Just for, you see Leah there. Just for comparison, let's go ahead and throw Caster on the screen. Now, a little backstory. Caster is a biological woman who was denied the ability to compete against other women because the testosterone levels were a little higher for her to compete against the women. But they did not allow for Caster to run, or said that she couldn't run against the women, or made a big stink about it, shall I say. She was truly, she was kind of treated unfairly because her testosterone levels. She was born a woman. She was born a woman. She was trying to defend her Olympic title, but they kind of held that back because of the fact that she couldn't. They didn't want her to go and run because of her testosterone levels. So let's go ahead and throw that picture up there, Everett. We want to see why come Caster couldn't run and Leah could. See, what's a stark difference that stands out there to you there, Stephen?
New jersey.
Yep, she's got a blue jersey. You're exactly right. She's got a blue jersey. I'll say it if you don't want to say it. Caster is a black woman, an actual black woman.
I want to make a comment.
What comment?
She looks more a woman, apart from the black thing. She looks more a woman than the other guy.
Because she is a woman. Now, she's a gay woman, but she's a woman nonetheless. Biological, born a woman, lives as a woman, married to a woman, all that good jazz. But the Olympics would not let her run with this high testosterone level that she had.
To run as?
Well, they didn't let her run at all.
That in itself seems
unfair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, hey, I guess it depends on how you look. Not who you are, unfortunately. Kudos to Leah, but no kudos to Caster Semenya. Tall woman, but still a woman. Still a woman, but she's not as tall as the other.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's true.
Anywho, man, don't get me started on that, because I could go. If I were a woman in this country, or shoot, in this world, period, I would feel highly mistreated with all these men trying to come into our space and kind of hold us down, as you would say. But there we are, man. What else you got?
That's it.
Actually, we actually have a tour called.
How do you feel about Ted Cruz's question? I didn't see the question. I'm sorry. We'll make an effort to answer because I didn't see it, didn't hear it. But we can discuss it later. Ketanji Brown Jackson. Yeah, they're doing her confirmation, so maybe that's something we'll discuss next week once it's finished.
I'll get the link. No, I know what it. I know
the link for what?
Ketanji Brown Jackson. Something like one with Ted Cruz. It was pretty insulting. I reckon today is actually going to be a little bit more contentious.
Oh well, those hearings are always contentious.
That's what I can't understand. Why are they so contentious?
It doesn't make.
Why we're talking about? We're talking about something that's
supposed to help the country, right?
And yet I can never understand why it's so contentious.
Yeah,
I've got the article.
Remember to share that on Discord so that way I can post it up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just put it up on the link.
Did you hear him ask the question?
If you want to play that, if you want. What's that?
Did you hear him ask the question? You know what he's talking about? Okay, because I didn't. I guess you can go ahead and play it.
Right at the bottom. I thought she was.
Trustees of Georgetown Day School. Here's what we heard from Senator Ted Cruz.
If you look at the Georgetown Day School's curriculum, it is filled and overflowing with critical race theory. That among the books that are either assigned or recommended, they include Critical Race Theory, an introduction. They include The End of Policing, an advocacy for abolishing police. They include How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi. They include literally stacks and stacks of books, and I'll tell you two of the ones that were most stunning. They include a book called Anti-Racist Baby by Ibram Kendi. And there are portions of this book that I find really quite remarkable. One portion of the book says babies are taught to be racist or anti-racist. There is no neutrality. Another portion of the book, they recommend to babies confess when being racist. Now, this is a book that is taught at Georgetown Day School to students in pre-K through second grade, so 4 through 7 years old. Do you agree with this book that is being taught with kids that babies are racist?
Senator, I do not believe that any child should be made to feel as though they are racist or though they are not valued or though they are less than, that they are victims, that they are oppressors. I don't believe in any of that. But what I will say is that when you asked me whether or not this was taught in schools, critical race theory, my understanding is that critical race theory as an academic
This is even a question that's brought up during the confirmation. Because my deal with it is, I think I understand the sentiment that he's getting at, but what relevance does it have toward the competency of this woman to be able to hold a position that we're trying to put her in? You know her record, you know what she believes in. Maybe challenge those things.
I think she'll be a good on the Supreme Court. Okay. Yeah, I think she would be. I think she'll be good on the Supreme Court. 2 reasons. One, she's black. One, she's a woman.
And I think those are the worst reasons ever
right.
to appoint someone to the Supreme Court, because that doesn't matter.
But I think it's needed.
Well,
all right, I think it's needed. The point that I've got a problem with is this whole critical race theory. Say you're appointing somebody to the Supreme Court, whether you're for or against the critical race theory. And what the heck's it got to do with, what's it got to do with, we all know where he's going with it. He's going with it because he thinks this critical race theory has nothing to do, anything can't.
Well, the critical race theory part, I think the biggest argument has been that teaching certain age kids at a certain level, it's like why are we teaching that? It's almost like we're teaching them hate. That's what the argument has been. Why bring that to their attention at that age? It's not our responsibility to kind of teach that at that age. I can understand that, but I don't think someone should be put in any position because they're black or because they're a woman. I think this was a pander, honestly, from Joe Biden, because that's what he kept saying. I'm going to put in a black woman. So really what that means is that you didn't even consider any other candidates that could have been just as qualified as this lady. And I don't have any knock against her because I really don't know anything about her except she got a freaking cool name, Ketanji Brown Jackson. But I think just go over her record. What her beliefs are. That's what I think you should be judging or having a conversation about during this hearing.
I was listening on, I think it was on YouTube, on one of the things that she was saying. And when she introduced herself with all the things that you know, the American, I call them the American guidelines which were, you know, freedom of speech and all the other stuff that goes with that. I honestly thought, I've never heard anybody introduce herself with them principles to basically say, these are the principles that I believe in.
That's what you believe in. Yeah.
These are the principles that has been the strength of this country. And these are the principles that we need to continue to be the successful company that we are. Out of all the Supreme Justices that we've ever seen, when they've introduced themselves, right? And I was actually pretty impressed with that, to come from not just her but anybody. I thought it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's always ridiculous because we can never kind of come together on agreeing. I mean, for goodness sake, the last what was her name? The last let me see. Amy Connie Barrett, that was her name. She ended up replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg, RBG, who was an amazing individual sitting in that spot. But they were questioning about her adopting the black kids. It's like, bro, why they needed a parent. Why does that matter? What does that have to do with me and where I stand on issues? It's just like, why y'all making it an issue because it was someone nominated that's not happened to be in your party. So you just want to give him a hard time. Brett Kavanaugh, this dude had to go through a whole questioning about some event that happened when he was in high school just based on some, you know, what somebody said. It's like, just let's go about the facts. Let's move on through the questions and the beliefs.
But with Kavanaugh, I think there was some serious questions. If they was true, I think there was some serious questions.
If they were true, that's the thing. There was speculation.
So you're putting somebody into, but there were some people that came forward that said
what? The woman that it was supposedly happened to couldn't even remember when it happened or where it happened. She couldn't. It was so vague. I watched it. It was so vague. What I'm saying is, if we could come together as a country to work together more than we work against each other, we'd be so much further.
Good luck with that.
Third party. We need a third party. Andrew Yang, we might be getting with you soon.
I want you to go into the live.
You put something else in there?
Yeah, I have a question for James. See that boxable? The video? Because I would like James to...
Do I think that is something that'll happen? What's that, tiny homes?
Mm-hmm. Because it's on the continuing education now for real estate agents. And have you seen them?
I have seen them.
Have you seen the Casita boxable home? It is... Have you clicked it?
There's a whole page of them. Which one do you want them to play?
Yeah, exactly.
That's like a channel. Which
I
video?
want you Is this Musk's company?
You know, I don't know, but I saw this a few weeks ago. Did my brother
Go down and goes full home unfolds in 1 hour, kitchen and bathroom included. You see that one?
It's a tiny home, basically.
And it's a Boxable channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that link was
Can this be financed conventionally, or is this something that goes through their finance?
That's going to be their finance, because this is not your typical, like, it's a manufactured home, but this is not something that is, I don't even know what you would consider this. It's a prefab manufactured type home. If there's money for it, I would assume that somebody will start investing in it, but
so if you had like,
I don't know, I haven't heard of it.
so if you had a big piece of land and you put 20 of these things on it, you put a washateria, and you leased out a grocery store.
A big grocery store? Putting them inside of a grocery store?
No.
What are you saying?
You have a lot of land. You
Mhm.
put 20 of these houses on
Oh, land. Okay.
there. Yeah. Then you put yourself a washateria. They've got washing machines anyway, but say then you put a grocery store on there. If not,
A new little community?
yeah, subdivision.
It's possible. It is definitely possible.
They've just built 6-acre.
So it looks like Elon Musk is living in a Boxable near his SpaceX headquarters.
I'm shocked.
Shocked on what?
No more. Is that? No, it was like a sarcastic. Like it. Like I'm surprised. I'm not that surprised.
Yeah, this is a new concept. I mean, they're basically a foldable house. It's a prefab house, but excuse me, about 400 square. I would say about the size of a hotel room.
Because they fold out within an hour.
But then, how do you hook up? You got to have the water and utility run to the
Well,
place already.
That's what my biggest question is. You need a slab to put it on. You need water. You need electric.
Right. It's an idea. If things get bad, they're like 50 grand, right?
But it makes housing affordable. That's my biggest thing at the moment with housing. I mean, how does a young person that wants to get out there get on their own feet and get their own house?
They don't. They stay with their parents.
Or you try to find some who, needs roommates for cheap. That's what I do.
Well, that's not a bad idea. I've heard of people doing that. That's kind of where we are.
It's kind of the only other best option because if I try to, I can't get an apartment all by myself because I don't have enough credit.
Right.
And even if I did have an apartment by myself, I have to get the first month, last month's rent, and make sure that I had enough in my bank account to at least pay rent 4 times that.
Yeah.
I'm 26.
Well, that looks like this is what Elon has decided to do, to live in the Boxable.
Yeah.
Hey, I think they're selling some stock in it. We might have to look them up to see. We can get, bless you, we can get in on that. We'll see. Boxable. Cool. What else, man?
That's it for today.
Oh,
That is it. I think we covered a bit. We've been on here for a little while, man. Different topics. Of course, these are all our opinions. Just know that we don't own the gospel of anyone's truth. It's just our opinions on what we talk about. So listen at your own risk, shall they say, and join us next week as we sit down at the Olympian table again to talk about real estate investments and stuff that's going on out in the regular world.
I mean, I'm interested to see what happens with the interest rate, just stocks in general and the investment world. And
You're interested in the interest, huh?
No, I'm just,
I see what you did there.
I'm just interested to see the outcome of that.
Oh yeah, well,
because it's such a big question mark with the interest rates going up. I mean, look, the interest rates went up yesterday or the day before. What happened? All the stocks went up. Everybody thought the stocks were coming down.
Rates have been going up, but that's usually what happens though.
So
Because the bond market is down typically, but it is what it is. We'll continue to watch it and keep you guys as informed as we can as we navigate this. We've been through these cycles before. It's not over. And shoot, who knows? It might end up coming down lower than what it was ever before. So if you're interested in real estate, buying, investing, selling, renting, descriptions and the information below. To reach out to Steven or someone on his team. If you need anything from me, for mortgage, applying to buy, refinance, mine as well is down in the description. We ask you guys share this podcast, like it, subscribe, and join us next week.
And we look forward to seeing you next week, guys.
All right.
Thank you.